Use a rook lift to attack the king. A rook lift is when your rook is bored AF on his square, so you decide to lift him up so he can get some more action. This is a great way to bring your rooks into the game early, especially when they are stuck behind pawns. In this example, Black king is super exposed, so you could play the move rook to f3 to get ready for rook to g3, smashing the king.
You won't get any girls with that tiny bicep, buddy.
Oh yeah?
Hey, what are you doing?
Who's got the tiny biceps now, huh?
Consider all threats, not just one. A thing you always want to be aware of is that your opponent can be attacking you from multiple places at once. A big no-no would be if you suddenly became a pirate, and half blind, only focusing on one attack. In this situation, low IQ players would go, "Oh, there is a checkmate, let me go e5 to block the black queen," but this ain't you, 'cause you know that if you do this, your queen is gonna go bye-bye. Smothering. Smothering often involves sacrificing material to force the opponent's pieces into positions where they block the king's escape.
Don't worry, king, I'm on your side. You stupid you're blocking my escape.
Pawn breakthrough. Pawn breakthrough is a genius tactic in endgames where a player sacrifices multiple pawns or pieces to create an unstoppable passed pawn. In this position, white challenges black's pawn island, but instead of taking back, white sacrifices another pawn, so that this pawn can promote to a queen. Certain openings are better for attacking. Certain openings in chess are just much better for attacking players. For example, the Evans Gambit is a much more aggressive opening for white, compared to, say, the London system. For black, I recommend playing the King's Indian defense, as this is Hikura Nakamura's favorite opening, besides the legendary Bong Cloud. Target holes. Where there's a hole, there's a goal. Sun Tzu probably. A hole is a square that can't be defended by any pawns ever again. When there are too many holes in the position, you can try to defend them with your pieces. But that is basically trying to save a sinking boat with some Chinese duct tape. It ain't gonna work.
Captain, the ship is taking on water. We're about to sink.
Take this and use it.
Aye, aye, Captain.
A few moments later.
Hey, come back,
Guys.
take me too. Hey.
In this position, any decent player would immediately see the hole on d4, and shoves the knight there, forking the rook and the queen. It takes a lot more brain, however, to realize that there's a much tighter and more attractive hole on g6, and play the brilliant move, knight to f4. After a move from black, checkmate is pretty much unstoppable. Opposite-colored bishop pieces are dangerous in the middle game. In this position, black is up a knight. However, because the two bishops are of opposite colors, this bishop is attacking squares that the other bishop can never defend, and checkmate is unstoppable. If black has a dark square bishop, it would have been a totally different story. Opposite-colored bishops drawish in the endgame. In the endgame, opposite-colored bishops are very drawish. Believe it or not, these two positions are both theoretically draws. Corner mate. In the corner mate, the rook cuts off important escape squares on a file or rank. The knight jumps in to deliver the final attack and end the game.
I'll give you an apple if you go away horsey.
Do I look like a doctor to you?
Remove key defenders. Removing key defenders is a tactical idea where you focus on eliminating the pieces that are crucial in defending the opponent's king, or a critical point in their position. For example, in this position, black's knight is the only piece that's defending g7. White sacrifices the rook and delivers a devastating checkmate. Scholar's mate. Scholar's mate involves getting the queen out early and relies on the opponent's low elo brain.
Want to try the scholar's mate today, babe?
Only if you keep the hat on.
Elo. The Elo rating system measures the relative strength of a player in chess compared to other players. Some people are very bad at chess, some people are really good at chess. However, there is only one legend with Elo of infinity. Adjournment. Adjournment is the suspension of a chess game to be continued later.
You mind if we finish this game tomorrow? I really need to pee.
Watch out for stalemate. How many times have you been in a situation where you're destroying your poor opponent, and then, boom, stalemate? To keep your computer safe from being completely obliterated, you want to constantly pay attention and look for stalemate, even if you think you're 100% winning. Here, white is absolutely destroying black. However, if you make a super low IQ move, love queen to c7, that'd be stalemate. Opposition is important in king and pawn endgames. Opposition is a position where your kings are chilling and looking at each other like two long-lost lovebirds, with only one square in between them. In this position, white has the opposition because he can move the king to f6, facing the black king, forcing it to move to either side. Any move is bad for black, because white will advance the king next move, and create the legendary red carpet for the pawn to promote.
Whoever moves first is a
Yeah, well, I'm not moving. Fine, Nora, I'll go first.
Tablebase. Tablebase is an endgame database that contains pre-calculated exhaustive analysis of chess endgame positions. Bad bishop. Bad bishop is a bishop that is blocked by its own pawns, limiting its mobility and effectiveness.
Hey, I wanna see.
Arabian mate. This is an important and unique pattern that shows the combined power of the knight and rook in action. In this position, white sacrifices the rook and then delivers a killer checkmate.
Salam alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Anastasia mate. This mate occurs when the enemy king is trapped on the edge of the board and the rook delivers the checkmate. After giving black a check, white sacrifices the queen to deliver a soul-crushing checkmate. When ahead, trade pieces but not pawns. In this example, you're up a rook for a knight. This is a pretty big deal. You can simply use your rook to scoop up all black pawns and winning is inevitable. If you trade all pawns though, even Magnus Carlsen can't win this position, because it is a freaking theoretical draw, unless the opponent has a seizure. When down, trade pawns but not pieces. Similarly to the last principle, if you are black, trading all of your pawns is what you want to do, because that is how you will increase your chances to get a draw from a lost position. Draw. A draw occurs in chess when neither player wins nor loses. The game ends in a tie, with each player gets half a point.
We've been playing for 3 hours. Want to draw?
Yeah, my legs are freaking numb now. Let's go grab some beers.
Check. A situation where a king is threatened by an opponent's piece, requiring a move to remove the threat. Create protected pass pawns. Remember we said in this position, white is winning? Well, that's only because this pawn is protected. Otherwise, black would attack c6, take it, and win the game. In this example, the two pass pawns basically paralyze the black king. If the king captures a pawn, the other pawn would just keep pushing and finally promote. White just needs to slowly walk the king over and it's game over. If the two pawns are not protecting each other, however, black can capture them one by one, and the game is a draw. Dead position. It is a position where there are still lots of pieces on the board, but no progress can be made. In this position, all the pawns are fixed, and neither player can move a piece to the other side, leading to a draw. Recording moves. Recording moves involves keeping a written or digital record of the sequence of moves made during a game of chess. Threefold repetition. If the same position has occurred 3 times during the game, it is a draw.
You drew. What's up? You drew.
Advantage. Advantage is a situation where a player has a better position or more material than the opponent, increasing their chances of winning. Blindfold chess. Blindfold chess is playing chess without sight of the board, relying on memory and visualization to make moves. 2 connected pawns on the 6th rank beat a rook. What would you choose, a rook or 2 pawns? Most of the time you should really choose the rook bra, at least if you want to win. However, if the 2 pawns are connected on the 6th rank, they're stronger than a rook. In this position, black tries to prevent the pawns from promoting, but there's nothing he can do.
What do you 2 puny pawns think you're going to do? You're no match for me.
Exactly that.
What is going to happen? This is not how the game is played.
Further advanced pawns are more valuable. This is pretty logical. If you've got pawns that are more advanced on the board, they're going to be much more valuable than those slow pawns that are still on their starting squares. Like how here, black might think that he's going to win because he's got 3 passed pawns. But that means because white's passed pawn is promoting to a queen. No takeback. This one is a no-brainer. If you made a move, even if you realized immediately how stupid it was, you can't take it back. Of course, this applies to high-level tournaments, and if you're only playing with a friend, the rules can be as lenient as you want. Double illegal move. In a game in 2017, an arbiter declared Magnus Carlsen had lost as he continued to play after his opponent's illegal move. Turns out, this is not in the FIDE lawbook, and the chief arbiter overruled this decision shortly after, and Magnus ended up winning that game. Insufficient material. This happens when neither you nor your opponent has any way to checkmate the other, and the game is pronounced a draw by insufficient material.
Come at me, man. I'll beat you up.
No! You come at me, you scaredy cat!
You're one to talk. All you do is run your mouth like a coward.
Oh, do I now? Well, you're doing the exact same thing, you idiot.
Blockade. Blockade is the strategic placement of a piece in front of an enemy pawn to prevent its advance.
Could you please let me in?
You're not even 10 years old yet. Get out of here.
Armageddon. Armageddon is a special tiebreaker game with different time controls for black and white, where a draw counts as a win for black. Avoid opening files on your king. Think of your king as a super introverted guy. This dude does not like going into any open spaces if there is a lot of people around. So you want to do your best to keep the king as closed as possible. Here, as white, you 100% don't want to take this pawn and open up the entire G file. Instead, you want to push to G3 to lock the position. Despite the position looking scary, your king is chilling. Suffocation mate. In the Suffocation mate, the bishop suffocates the enemy king by controlling some important escape squares, and the knight lands the final checkmate.
Get off me. Help. I am suffocating.
Stop pretending, king. We all know you like getting choked.
Pin. A pin occurs when a piece is attacked, and moving it would expose a more valuable piece behind it. Pins can immobilize an opponent's piece, making it an effective tool for gaining a material advantage. Wooden shield. A term invented by Super Grandmaster XQC, a wooden shield is a tactic where a bishop or queen attacks 4 opponent pieces at the same time, forming an X shape, resembling a wooden shield. En passant. En passant, aka en peasant, is a special pawn capture that can only occur immediately after a pawn moves 2 squares from its starting position and lands beside an opponent's pawn. Try to create passed pawns. Because they are so OP, even if you don't have a passed pawn, you want to try to create one. Normally you would do this by advancing your pawns, trading a few pawns, or even creating pawn breaks. Here, you can create a passed pawn on the A file by trading your original A pawn with the black pawn, successfully turning your B pawn into a passed A pawn.
Baby, are you in endgame? 'Cause just looking at you makes me want to create a few passed pawns on you.
Passed pawns should be supported by your pieces. When you have a passed pawn like this, don't blindly push it right away. Support it with your rook first, then push. Tempo. Tempo is a unit of time in chess, referring to a single move. Minor piece. A minor piece refers to a bishop or a knight.
You're gonna spend a long time in prison, buddy.
Officer, please! I swear she said she's 18.
Haha, another victim.
En passant. En passant is the only rule in chess which, if possible to play on the board, makes you want to play it more than a checkmate. It is a special position that occurs when a pawn moves 2 squares as the first move, and if it lands next to an opposition pawn, the opposing pawn can move diagonally and take the pawn. Knights on the rim are grim. When a knight is on the rim, it can only see 2 squares. However, when it's in the middle, it controls 8 squares in total, so to keep your knights happy and productive, don't put it on the rim. Rooks are great on the 7th and 2nd ranks. The 7th or 2nd rank is where normally most of the pawns, or at least the base of the pawn chain, are. Thus, placing a rook on that rank will be the happiest and deadliest it has ever been, slaying pawns left and right until the game is won.
Don't care, still don't care, I don't care.
In this position, white's best move is rook to d7. Black might try to defend the pawn, but white would just put another rook on the 7th rank and collect those juicy pawns. Balstra mate. In the Balstra mate, the queen does a great job of covering most of the enemy king's escape squares, while the bishop delivers the checkmate. The final position looks like a pair of scissors. Reti's mate. This beautiful checkmate starts with a queen sacrifice and the bishop and rook finish the job. Swindle. A tactic where a losing player manages to escape with a draw or even a win.
You're outnumbered. Just surrender, and we'll let you live.
Meh, I'm good. Thanks.
Fortress. A fortress is a position where the weaker side can set up a defense that the stronger side cannot penetrate. In this position, white is up 3 points of material. However, there is no way to make progress, and the game is a theoretical draw. If the position is cramped trade pieces, in a cramped position such as this one, your pieces don't have any space to do so the best thing you can do is simplify the position by trading pieces. Capture. Capture means removing an opponent's piece from the board.
Put your hands up and go into the van.
Rank. A horizontal row on the chessboard, numbered 1 through 8, checkmate. A checkmate occurs when a king is placed in check and has no legal moves to escape. When this happens, the game ends immediately, and the player who delivered the checkmate wins.
Can we do mating puzzles, Queen?
Whatever you want, babe.
FBI, open up! Damn it, is it a trap?
Checkmate.
Anderssen's mate. In this mate, the rook delivers a checkmate on the 8th rank while being supported by a pawn. Vukovic mate. This is a rare mating pattern that is carried out by 3 pieces. In this position, white sacrifices the bishop, and then delivers a checkmate in 2. Bishop pair. Having both bishops on the board is generally considered an advantage due to their wide range of control.
My life would be so incomplete without you, love. Bruh, I have a girlfriend.
Control the center. The center is the most OP area of a chess game. If you control the center, it'll be very hard for your opponent to do shit. So use your knights, bishops, and pawns to control your center when you can, and thank me later. David and Goliath. In this checkmate pattern, a pawn delivers a mate. Currently, the black king cannot move anywhere. But the pawn on f4 can't be pushed because it is pinned to the king. So white sacrifices the queen to force the rook to move, and then deliver the final blow.
What are you doing, tiny pawn? You could never hurt me.
Remember, kids, size does not matter.
No common checkmate patterns. There's nothing worse than playing a series of brilliant moves, sacrificing lots of pieces, and getting to a forced checkmate sequence, only to not realize it and blunder. If you want to master the art of attacking, make sure you first master the art of mating. Double check. Double check is when a king is put in check by 2 pieces with a single move. The only way to escape a double check is to move the king. And in this position, white finishes the game with a checkmate. Classical chess. Traditional chess with longer time controls, allowing players ample time to think, often over several hours. Blunder. A blunder is a very poor move that results in a significant loss of material or a strategically lost position. Needs to learn basic tactics. There is one requirement when executing an attack. You need to have a brain. For example, let's say you've sacrificed all your pieces to get into this position. If your brain can't see the obvious checkmate in 130, there's no hope for you. Seriously though, while attacking, there are situations like this where you are down an entire rook. To secure the win, you do need to find the beautiful queen sacrifice, queen to f8, and then deliver the final blow with your knight. If you can't, well, you're file. A file is a vertical column on the chessboard denoted by letters A through H. Protect bishops with a pawn. This is a bishop. This is a pawn. This is a bishop protected by a pawn and is much better. End of lesson. Just kidding. In the endgame, it is usually a good idea to protect your bishop with a pawn. In this position, the bishop and pawn's formation is like an anchor in black's throat as they protect each other. Despite being up in exchange, white is better. Incorrect setup. Incorrect setup refers to a situation where one of the players in over-the-board chess has made a mistake in the setup of his pieces, which needs to be corrected before normal gameplay can resume. White moves first. This is a rule known by everybody in the chess world, and is the first thing you learn. Many people believe that this is for some reason related to racism, but it actually isn't even close. One of the theories is that when chess was created, black was considered lucky, and white had to be given some sort of other advantage. Epaulette mate. In this pattern, the king is in check, and has no safe retreating squares to its side.
I was with the white queen last night. She let me lick her crown. She told me not to say this to anyone, but who cares about that bitch anyways?
What were you saying, King?
Oh, Trade a rook for 2 minor pieces. In this position, this pawn is fucked. You can try to castle all you want. It's still fucked. What you gonna do? Well, double down and push your g4 pawn forward, attacking your opponent's bishop. After the fork, you can move your king away to d2. Now your opponent must be feeling big-brained cause he got a rook, but very soon he will realize that he is cooked. You take back the bishop with your d-pawn, and boom, now your opponent's knight is trapped. Put pawns on the opposite color of your bishops. Unlike the super woke American activists, bishops are neither racist nor passive-aggressive. If you have a dark square bishop, it works best when the pawns are on light squares, and vice versa. In this example you can clearly see white bishop is controlling the entire diagonal and has lots of space to move around, because most of white pawns are on opposite color squares. The black bishop on the other hand can't really move anywhere, and is stuck behind a wall of pawns. Rooks should go behind passed pawns. Here's a rook in front of a passed pawn. It sucks for the white rook because its movement is very restricted and can't move anywhere. Because of that, this position is a complete draw. In this position, however, the white rook is behind the passed pawn. Not only is it defending the pawn, but it can also move from a1 to a6, while still keeping an eye on the pawn. It has a much wider range of motion, and because of that, white is completely winning.
You're safe, pawn. I'm watching.
I don't know, Rook. It's quiet. Too quiet. Rook, knight incoming.
I see him.
Nice shot.
Told you, kid, you're safe.
Wide peepos. Wide peepos is another term invented by the god of chess XQC, and later adopted by GM Hikaru Nakamura. It refers to 2 passed pawns far away from each other, and the king cannot catch them both. Juicer. Juicer is a funny way to say chess piece. Once again, the term was invented by XQC himself. Trade pieces to simplify. Sometimes when shit hits the fan, you gotta trade pieces. In this situation, white is in a pickle. Black bishop is about to take the knight, and if you take back, you get mated. The knight can't jump anywhere though, because it is pinned to the queen. To get yourself out of this situation, what you want to do is move your knight to b5, attacking both the queen and bishop. This way, black's gotta move his queen, and you gobble the bishop up, destroying black's battery.
Sorry guys, position's getting too complicated.
Much better.
No talking. This rule is pretty self-explanatory. During an over-the-board chess game, no words can be said, other than draw check, accepting and declining a draw, or jadoob, which means that a player is announcing that they will touch a piece for a reason other than to move it. Stalemate. A stalemate is a situation where a player has no legal moves to play and is not in check. It could be the most frustrating thing you ever experienced as a chess player. In queen endings, watch out for perpetual check. If both you and your opponent have a queen, you always want to watch out for perpetual check, which is what happens when your opponent keeps checking you and your king has nowhere to run. Perpetual checks will cause the game to become a draw, and you to break your computer or phone. In this position, despite being down on a lot of pawns, black can keep checking and checking and checking until the game becomes a draw. Look for big weaknesses. The first thing you want to do in the middle game is look around to see if your opponent made any big oopsies. For example, up to this moment, both you and your opponent played like 2 grandmasters. But then your opponent decides to go monkey mode and play queen d7. Now because you are super big-brained, you see that this makes the knight really weak, and you can immediately trade your bishop for it, making a massive hole in your opponent's structure. Create threats. At the same time, you want to put pressure on your opponent so it's much easier for him to fuck up. You can do this either by making a trap for your opponent's pieces or even directly planning to smash his king. If you do this just right, you're gonna force your opponent to make an oopsie, and that's where you come in and destroy them. Coming back to this position, something big-brained that you can do is you can push your A pawn to A4. If your opponent doesn't see what you are doing and plays a stupid move like king to H7, you can then push your B pawn to B4, and now your opponent's bishop is stuck and you're gonna gobble it up. Max Lange. This checkmate pattern combines the powers of a queen and a bishop, and is named after a German chess player, Max Lange. In this position, the queen and the bishop work together to mess the king up, and the queen delivers the final blow. Sacrifice. A sacrifice happens in chess when one player intentionally gives up material to achieve a larger goal. In this position, Black sacrifices a queen to deliver a forced checkmate. Double hand clock. This rule indicates that you can only use one hand for playing a move and hitting the clock. Back rank. Back rank tactic occurs when a player exploits his opponent's vulnerable back rank to gain significant material advantage.